Challenge. Can you spot the exact second autonomy outsmarts interception? Watch closely. Tor M2 commits a 9M317. Nebo M builds a track, and the drone rejects the radar fight entirely. Your challenge. Catch the frame where visual homing takes over and the ventilation intake becomes the target. If you find it, you'll understand why the 0.8-second delay was chosen, how an 8-pound charge creates a 500 psi wave inside a sealed bay, and why tripwires and Spetsnaz couldn't stop a mission already decided in a single sensor handoff. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. A log cabin on a flatbed slides through a rural checkpoint. Boards, nails, roofing felt strapped tight. The bill of lading matches the manifest. The driver keeps his hands visible, nods, and rolls on. What the guard doesn't see is a chassis nested in the cabin's floor, batteries bricked under insulation, and an antenna rig that never transmits. The one system Russia's sensors aren't trained to notice rides past, labeled as home goods. The cover story is dull by design. Prefab house kit to a riverside plot, contractors scheduled in 3 days, crane hire booked, and a cash-on-delivery note that makes everyone move faster. The route sticks to the M5 long enough to look normal, then peels off onto county roads marked for construction traffic. An insider at the destination logs a receipt in a municipal database, time-stamped to match way station records. The point is to leave a trail that feels real to people and to software. The path isn't empty. It threads the edge of Kasuka 4 electronic warfare bubbles that flood the air with noise. It skirts the search volume of a Nebo M radar whose operators know the field like a map in their heads. It passes within reach of TORM-2 batteries that sit near a propellant complex, restless for low flyers. Every overlap adds risk, so the truck's speed stays consistent, never fast, never slow, always 3 miles per hour under posted. Boredom is the camouflage. A narrow GPS spoof window keeps the rig off the roads the algorithm expects without flagging an anomaly. The spoofer burns only at pre-selected bends, nudging the breadcrumb trail to align with logged detours. When it's off, the truck shows raw signals, audited and dull. Inside, the mothership sits under LED panels tuned to erase hard edges on thermal cameras. Heat sinks bleed warmth into the cabin's wood, and the signature drifts within a wildlife band, like a small animal nest, 2 degrees above ambient and never a steady spot. Static fences catch what tries to jump the wall. Mobile counters catch what tries to sneak along it. Roving patrols pulse flashlights into tree lines and run EM checks that punish emitters. That is why the plan favors low, slow, and quiet. A high-speed dash lights up Doppler cues and duty cycles. Moving like delivery clutter avoids triggering human curiosity. Nothing in the rig calls back to a tower or pings a tracker. Ascension Tech solves the last mile. An 80-foot vertical deploy at dusk lifts the frame just under the engagement logic that prioritizes higher, faster tracks. Too low and you stir ground clutter. Too high and you show up where operators stare first. The climb is straight, motors soft, then a level skim over water and reeds, riding the seams of the sensor map. At one checkpoint, a thermal camera paints a smear that doesn't look like an engine block. The guard frowns. The insider steps up with a stapled stack of permits and a phone that can't find the right email. A joke about bad cell service. 40 seconds pass. Inside the cabin, fans throttle down and heat sinks soak the last warm glow. The smear fades below a human heat signature. The guard waves them through, already late for lunch. Sector coordination ties radar and EW into one picture, but the links still pass through hands. Nebo M sweeps feed sector control, Kasuka 4 lays down noise, and short-range batteries accept or reject tracks on timelines that don't always line up. Handoffs create moments where a target is between labels, especially when it looks like nothing important. Those gaps are small, but they exist. The final ring falls the same way. Not with speed, with boredom. The mothership arrives at the release point because no one cared enough to stare at it. The fence is already crossed in the minds of the defenders. Then the sky turns hostile. Once Tor M2 and Nebo M build a track together, the cabin trick ends, and a 0.8-second decision waits. Tor spits a 9M317. The seeker spins up, and the drone refuses to play radar chicken. What target can't a missile see but a camera can? Anything defined by edges and contrast, not by metal and return. The drone points its lens at a shape no radar cares about, the intake mouth cut into the curing bay. It moves off the beam and onto a picture. Up high, Nebo M stitches a clean composite track. Range, speed, heading, all tidy. TOR-M2 digests that feed and pushes a firing solution downhill. The TFL-1's low cross-section tricks hold until the missile is in the air. After launch, shaping and angles help less because the missile is no longer scanning the big sky. It's staring into a shrinking gate. If you try to win that duel on radar, you lose the seconds you need for anything smarter. Kasuka 4 throws noise over the sector, but that noise is a streetlight in fog. It helps until it marks the area as worth staring at. Jamming can break a lock and also center attention on the jammer. Once you're seen, energy-based counters start to betray you. A burn-through moment will come. The drone's answer is to give up that game first. It cuts RF spends, slims the profile, and lets the missile keep a ghost while the guidance stack pivots to sight. The intake is the smarter aim point than a wall or door. It gives a straight path into enclosed volume. Baffles are minimal to reduce pressure drop, so there's no labyrinth to stop a small body riding the flow. It also sits away from reinforced columns, so any force inside couples into span areas and conduits rather than deep structural cores. Hit here, and you move loads where they hate to be. Under the skin, the warhead is 8 pounds, but it behaves larger because it's shaped. A conical liner collapses on detonation into a fast, narrow jet. The casing grooves steer fragmentation into predictable arcs, but the jet does the opening. A timed delay, 0.8 seconds, matters. Detonate too early and you splash the grate. Too late and you nosedive past the corner and lose coupling. The delay lets the body clear the mesh, seat against duck skin, and then fire when the barrel effect is real. On the ground, Spetsnaz drop a web of tripwires on telescoping rods. The lines sit inches apart and bite at spinning props. The TFL-1 slides laterally, nose canted, reading the wires as thin, bright threads against darker gravel. It rides the gaps, skims a stand, and banks into the intake slot on vision alone. No hover, no pause. The path is one clean arc that ends in shadow. Inside a tight duct, the math is ugly. A confined blast pushes a transient overpressure that can crest near 500 psi in microseconds. That spike hammers cable trays, stubs out control lines, and buckles thin supports. Interior coupling beats exterior scarring because energy stays in the cavity long enough to find weak joints and leverage them apart. Walls outside look fine. Everything that makes the plant work wobbles. The missile loses its quarry when the drone drops under the intake lip and the seeker stares at concrete. The intake wins. The blackout rolls through the complex, not from a cratered facade, but from a pressure pulse injected at the one mouth built to pull air through the heart of the process. Doors blow inward. Relays trip. Silence spreads faster than fire. After the flash, the feed shifts to fallout. Verification fights denial, and tempo takes sides. The mission pivoted on one choice. Stop wrestling radar the moment a missile leaves the rail, and let vision pick the only aperture that turns a localized hit into a plant-wide failure. That handoff is the reason a small charge became a system-level stop.